I'll put you in a grave before I put you in my well, 'cause I choose sides. Stanley said, I would have expected that if you 10 toes behind your slow son, you'd be 10 toes behind your crazy one. But I guess I was wrong. This is Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, Poetic Justice, Part 10. When we left off, Mom Brenda had gotten her girl, the Queen Mother, all the way together. And she didn't pull any punches. And Mighty Soul had taken responsibility for her role in keeping Manny away from his son. But she did not let him get away with not taking accountability for his own role in putting Nadia in an impossible position. And Idra had let it all hang out when he shared with LJ exactly why he'd never married or had children of his own. It was clear that Idra's love for Bella not only ran deep, but it was long-suffering. And while he'd chosen to walk away, he'd left his heart behind when he did. When the Queen Mother saw LJ and Idra coming from the other side of the garden, she said, well, what did you do, run? 'Cause I came out of that room right after you did, and you were nowhere to be found. Idra said, what difference does it make? Why'd you come out here, Bella? LJ said, well, I'ma go ahead and head out. He kissed the Queen Mother on the forehead and walked away, shaking his head. He'd never seen two old people as stubborn as the Queen Mother and Idra. When LJ was gone, the Queen Mother said, these flowers are so beautiful. Idra said, the flowers? You want to talk about the flowers? The Queen Mother said, Idra, I don't know what to say. We are in the middle of a crisis of epic proportions. This is not the time. Idra said, you're right. Our focus should be on the 5 families, finishing the debrief and exterminating the guilty parties, including my nephew, your godson. And when all of this is settled, if there's a tomorrow, we can have any conversation you want to have. I'm going to walk away, Bella. But before I do, I want to make sure that there's no confusion. I love you. I've always loved you. I will always love you. I never expected that I would live to see the day when you would be available to me. I expected that I would die in the field. I expected you and Anders to attend my funeral. I could have never anticipated that I'd be attending his. I never expected to receive a video from him. And if I didn't have his okay, his blessing, I would have gone to my grave never having pursued you. I would have honored that man in the love you two shared until my last breath. 'Cause I'm built like that. I've taken down more women than I can count. I've had the baddest broads in my bed and on my arm. Queen Mother said, now I don't want... It just said, I'm speaking. But I've never lied to them. I've never given a single solitary woman the impression that she was any more than a good time, a friend and a spot filler. I got a lot of life left in me and a whole lot of love to give. But I ain't begging, Bella. I got a lot of practice living without you. You don't want what I have to offer? I'll be fine. My life is full, but so is yours. You fill your days handling Baptiste's business, minding your children's business, being a grandmother and a boss, and all of it looks good on you. But one day soon, all of the secrets are going to fall out of the closet. Your grown children are going to want answers. Your grandchildren are going to be following your lead. And your friends are going to be saying that they told you so. And you will not be able to rely on your own devices. You're going to wish that you weren't rowing that boat alone. You're going to be looking for somebody else to lead. And you're probably going to be wishing that St. Andy was there. But you're going to realize that I'm the man for the job. And if you wait too long, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. 'Cause I'm not going to want the job. The Queen Mother went to say something and Idris said, I'm not done. Your positive attributes are limitless. You do things in the bedroom that would put a younger woman to shame. But believe it or not, I've had better. Don't learn the hard way, Bella. I don't need to be needed. I ain't never been nobody's afterthought. And I ain't never been second string. And then he walked away. And the Queen Mother was flabbergasted. She was trying to figure out what secrets he knew about and what damn broad he'd had that was better. As usual, she'd completely missed the point. Idra had certainly played her like a fiddle, 'cause they were going to have a follow-up discussion, and he was not going to leave her speechless this time. Meanwhile, Manny and Nadia had walked into the room where Stanley was being held, and seeing them, he went white as a sheet. Trying to recover, he said, so, you finally decided to come clean, Nadia. Nadia read his lips and signed, excuse you? And Manny said, don't disrespect your mother, son. Stanley said, oh, I'm your son now. You're not gonna tell me that all these years you didn't know. You didn't figure it out? Manny said, I don't owe you an explanation. You owe me one. From the moment you figured out I was your father, you had options. Instead of choosing the ones that would have made us a family, you chose the ones that would make you my enemy. Why? Stanley said, that's how you want to play this? You knocked up a 17-year-old girl. I guess I must have gotten my affinity for young girls from you. Manny said, at least I like girls. Stanley said, wow. Let me guess, they fed you some BS about me being gay and you bought it. Manny said, I don't give a damn whether you like boys or girls. My only interest is giving your mother closure and cleaning up this mess that you created. Stanley said, so you're not at all concerned about my life, the things that I've endured, or how my life is going to end? Manny said, you weren't concerned about how your life was going to end. If you were, you wouldn't have made the decisions that you made. I've known you most of your life, and you may not know me well, but you should know me well enough to know that I'm not a man you can manipulate. You can't play on my emotions, and I'll put you in a grave before I put you in my will, because I choose sides. Stanley said, this is definitely not how I expected our introduction as father and son to play out. I guess I got my ruthlessness from you too. Manny said, you couldn't have. I do my own dirty work. I don't play with the lives of women and children. I don't engage in one-sided competitions either. Stanley said, what you talking about? Lorenzo? I would have expected that if you 10 toes behind your slow son, you'd be 10 toes behind your crazy one. But I guess I was wrong. Manny said, insulting your younger brother is definitely not the flex that you think it is. You looked better making him your friend and not your enemy. Because learning that you're his brother is not going to inspire him to attempt to save your life. Stanley said, what about my sisters? Nadia-san, what is going on here? What am I missing? Manny looked at Nadia and said, our son expected that my dedication to family would have extended to him. And if that didn't happen, he'd be at least afforded the opportunity to meet his siblings, and they'd go to bat for him. This is his attempt at negotiating for his life. Isn't that right, Stanley? Stanley said, exactly. You got it. Manny said, I don't pull punches, so let me just go ahead and tell you. You're gonna tell us everything. You're not gonna drag it out, Stanley. You told Amir everything, and he told Amira everything. Whoever snatched her got her to tell them everything. And nearly everything she said has already been verified. Whether you tell us or not, we'll have all the information that we need. We don't need to keep you alive. We don't need you. I don't need you. This is not a negotiation. Then Stanley lost all the arrogance that he displayed when his mother and father walked in the room. He said, so can I at least make a final request and have it honored? Nadia and Manny just stared. Stanley said, can we have a family dinner? Get it all out on the table. Manny said, why the hell would I do that? Stanley said, you love your children, right? You don't want them to find out that they had a brother after I'm already dead. You don't want them to tell themselves their own story about why their grown father left a 17-year-old girl pregnant with his bastard child and let her pass that child off as another man. And I know that you want to control the narrative. I'm sure you don't want to leave your wife thinking that her friend was a whore who was pining after her husband all of these years while she was married to a stupid man who was foolish enough to believe that despite his inability to produce children, he was the father of her son. I'm sure you want to protect my mother's reputation because if something happens to me, before we all have a chance to sit down and talk, they'll all be getting letters, filling them in on what they've missed. Nadia-san, Stanley, you don't understand. Your father knew that I was pregnant by another man. It was his idea not to tell anyone. Manny interrupted Nadia's signing, turned his back to Stanley, and signed without saying a word. Do not give him any more ammunition. I understand why you want to clear things up for him. You don't want him to believe things that aren't true. But at this point, it does not matter. Let him go to his grave thinking whatever the hell he wants. He could have asked you at any time anything that he wanted to know. And he didn't. He wanted to believe the worst about you, about me. And he allowed the stories that he told himself to fuel his rage and his agenda. It's over now. I'm going to give him what he wants in exchange for him telling us everything. But you don't have anything to prove. And neither do I. Then Manny turned around and said, while signing, all of these years, you've told yourself a story about who your mother is. You let that story inform how you treated women. That and your sexual orientation have been the catalyst for you victimizing, mishandling, and disrespecting women. You're mentally ill, but that's no excuse. You want to talk about what you got from me? That's what you got from me. But unlike you, I did the work. I didn't allow my mental illness to become an excuse, wreaking havoc all over my life and the lives of others. Too bad you didn't get that from me. Mental illness, your parentage, your sexual orientation. None of that is an excuse for the pain that you've caused or the lives that you've taken. When the round table is concluded, you're a dead man. You'll get your last supper, but it will not have the impact that you expect. Meanwhile, in Denton, Texas, at the house that Selima had hired Star to decorate for her father Samuel and her stepmother, Miss Charlotte, Samuel and Miss Charlotte were having a conversation. On the table between them was the urn, holding Big Wood's ashes. Samuel said, I don't understand why you want to stay here instead of going back to New York. And I really don't understand why you want me to go back without you. Miss Charlotte said, Sam, I want more than anything to be able to tell you everything. You know me, and you know how much I love you. You know that I would do anything for you, for our family, and I have been intentional about there being no secrets between us. I'm sure you know that something is going on. You're an intelligent, intuitive man. I know that I know that I know that you love me and you'd move heaven and earth for me. And this whole situation would be so much easier if I could lean on you and have you help me carry this burden. Samuel said, then why won't you just tell me, Char? Miss Charlotte said, because it isn't mine to tell. Because there are lives on the line. Because there are 2 women out there with my grandbabies. And I made my son a promise. The only way that I'm getting through this is by focusing on that promise. And there isn't a soul in this world, not even you, who can help me do what he asked me to do. Samuel said, Char, we are one. Miss Charlotte said, and that will never change unless you want it to. Because I'm all in, babe. I am yours and you are mine. And there isn't a man, a woman, or a secret that I will allow to get in between that. I need you to have that same energy. Samuel said, now come on, Char. You know damn well. Charlotte said, no, I'm not saying. Samuel said, listen, what do you need from me? Just tell me. Miss Charlotte said, I need you to go home. I need you to tell anybody who asks that I had a hard time leaving the last place that I saw my son alive, that I needed to be available to support his fiance, that we will have a memorial service at home for the family and friends who couldn't make it to Dallas. But it will have to wait until I'm physically there, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually ready to endure that whole thing again. They'll understand. Samuel said, but your sister, your brother, your nieces and nephews, and everybody else stayed in New York because they expected that you and Wood's ashes would be in New York shortly after the memorial service here, and they'd get to say their final goodbyes there. They're gonna want to know how long they need to wait for closure. Miss Charlotte said, and they're going to have to understand that I am his mother. And while it's not fair to compare losses, none of their losses can be as great as mine, his father, and his sisters. And they've already had a chance to say goodbye. Samuel, I respect you greatly. You are as old school as they come. So you don't even have to tell me that you don't like any of this. It's written all over your face and it's coming out of your pores. You've put up with Big Dro's shenanigans, helped to mitigate the impact of Tasha's death, been there to support both Zyla and Zora as they've dealt with the revelations around what Leroy did to them, held space for Wood when he needed a man who could speak to his broken places. And you have been the steady, strong leader of this family through all of our dysfunction. You've been everything that I needed and more as I watched my son fight for his life. And I could not ask for a better man, a better partner, or a better friend. I am not pushing you away. I'm not shutting you out. And I do not take for granted all of the sacrifices that you've made for me. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not even good enough for you. I don't even deserve you. Samuel said, don't do that. I waited a long time to call you mine. I never expected to find love again. You know that. Now that I have, there is absolutely nothing in this world that I won't do for you. I love you. I love your children. They're my children. Wood was my son before he was ever my stepson. My whole world was turned upside down when they turned those monitors off and covered him with that sheet. And the only thing that stopped me from falling apart was the fact that I needed to hold myself together for you. I've buried more of the people that I love than are left alive. My mother, my father, 2 of my sisters, my brother Andy, my first wife, my nephew Chance, my best friend Nigel, and my son, Big Wood. And soon enough, I'm probably gonna have to watch them bury Stanley. Miss Charlotte said, what? Samuel said, he's responsible for all of this. Miss Charlotte said, see, this is what I'm talking about. Instead of being where you should be, at that round table, you're here with me, dealing with my pain. You should not be getting the information secondhand. I know that's not how you want to learn about everything that transpired. Samuel said, I'm where I want to be, where I should be. Miss Charlotte said, no, I'm where I should be. You need to get to that meeting, and then you need to head home. Get over there, and then call me from the plane so that I know that you're okay. I promise you, you will understand soon. It will all make sense, and you will not be upset. At that same time in Denver, True was sitting in front of her computer, staring at the screen. Pastor Tanya was saying, you can do it, True. I understand why you don't want to. I know it's hard for you to believe that it will help at all. But you're a writer. I've read some of your poetry. It's amazing. And you and I both know that you don't have to say everything. You don't even have to put it all on that server. But you'll feel a whole lot better if you share at least some of what you're feeling with Big Wood's mother. And you capture these feelings while they're fresh so that you can reflect on them with your son when he's older. More important, you need a safe outlet for all these pent-up emotions, because you cannot keep tearing up Angela and Stephanie's workout room. And if you're not ready to go back home, True said, I can't go home. I don't even have a home. Pastor Tanya said, I understand why you feel that way. But the longer you remain isolated here, the more likely it becomes that you're going to do something that you're going to regret. Once you ring that bell, it can't be unwrung. And it might make you feel better for a little while, but you'll be putting a Band-Aid on an open wound. True said, I don't know what you're talking about. Pastor Tanya said, yes, you do. If I see it, then I know you see it. That man wants you in a bad way. And he's doing everything that he can to respect a man who he looked up to. A man who put his own life on the line to save his. True said, what you know about that? Tanya said, enough. You and I go way back, True. I knew you when you was 4 feet tall, beating up boys. But I was there when Bo died. I saw how filthy you was doing niggas. Breaking hearts and taking names. Turning them out and leaving them salivating. True chuckled and said, I was not that bad. And they were willing participants. Pastor Tanya said, that's what you thought. I have never seen that many men wide open behind a woman who did not want them. In my experience, men usually turn women out. Women are usually chasing behind men. Have a harem of women competing to be their number one. Women who move how you moved are usually labeled whores. But you were so thorough with it that there wasn't a man within a 50-mile radius of you who would even whisper a bad word about you. You had this aura about you, this mystique, this level of unavailability that made you even more attractive. And if nothing else, a man loves a good chase. But Bosch is not chasing you, True. He's doing everything that he can to do his job. But your pain, to a man like him, coupled with your beauty and your power, is irresistible. If you don't actively choose to release that pain in a constructive way, you're gonna have him caught up. And he's gonna fall hard. True said, from what I've heard, he does the stinging. He don't get stung. Pastor Tanya said, well, you need to make it a point to ensure that all the entrances and exits to the hornet's nest are closed. Otherwise, he's going to get trapped, and he might not be able to get out, and you might not be able to get him out. when you're done with him. She looked at the blank screen, and then she started typing.
My life is fucked up now. It'll never be the same. I accept it how it comes. A lot of flaws.